You know, art's a funny thing. It's the most pervasive craft known to man, yet still is the least visible. Nonetheless, it is so critical to our existence as a species that not only does it exist in the name of our planet, Earth, it exists in our everyday lives. But what if art could also be utilized to lighten the load? Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, concerns about mental health have grown, not to mention concerns about suicidal ideation. In January 2021, 41% of adults reported symptoms of anxiety and/or depressive disorder. With the current state of the world, the value of peace of mind and emotional stability has only risen. Without it, many of us can succumb to our personal traumas as they become more and more aggravated by the current issues affecting us today. How do we process, examine, and organize our inner world as our outer world continues to change in increasingly unpredictable ways? We utilize the arts, all of the arts, fashion, websites, social media, cities, sculpture, graphic design, architecture, movies, music, dance, Zentangles, sketches, paintings, and good old-fashioned writing, talking and affirming. It's been shown that when people don't acknowledge and address their emotions, they display lower well-being and physical symptoms of stress. According to the American Institute of Stress, about 33% of people report feeling extreme stress. 77% of people experience stress that affects their physical health. 73% of people have stress that impacts their mental health. And most alarming, people who tend to experience particularly high rates of stress tend to be minorities, women, single parents, and people responsible for their family's care. Who exactly does that sound like? While these issues plague all of us, they are especially persistent in communities of color. On the upside, having the right vocabulary allows us to see the real issues at hand, to take a messy experience, understand it more clearly, and build a roadmap. When I first told my grandparents that I wanted to go to art school and wanted to be an artist, my granddad told me Black people don't do art. And I've been working towards understanding and healing from that statement ever since. I created this show, this content, whatever you want to call it, to heal myself. And by doing so, help you heal. With several art therapy activities together, we'll utilize the arts to facilitate a deeper understanding of the world we live in and ourselves. But first, let's get inspired. No experience is a cause of success or failure. We do not suffer from the shock of our experiences or so-called trauma, but we make out of them just what suits our purposes. Alfred Adler. There can be no transforming of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion. Carl Jung. Enter into children's play, and you will find the place where their minds, hearts, and souls meet. Virginia Axelin. The feelings that we'd rather not feel, the pain we'd rather ignore, all of this is necessary to heal. Not so that we can commiserate, but rather so that we can process. But how do we process? By engaging in the arts. In engaging in the arts, we meet ourselves at the crossroads of our mind, our body, and spirit. The best place to ignite growth. It's from this place that clarity is most possible. It's only after we attach language to our feelings that we can earnestly examine them and allow them to flow freely. But the question still lingers. How do you process your feelings? Do you? How do you perceive the adversity and the challenges that you've gone through? Is it a hindrance or simply wisdom at a high cost? No matter how difficult it may be, Achieving transformation means dealing with one's emotions. How might we do that in the healthiest way possible? Art therapy activity number 1, identifying emotions. Acknowledging our emotions, then processing them and visually mixing the representations of these emotions. We can more clearly identify, acknowledge, and release how we feel visually. The art making process begins well before touching pencil to paper. It begins with our thoughts and the materials we use to create. What tools will you use to express your emotions and why?
So I'm making these shapes not necessarily because they make sense or anything. That's kind of the overall point. Like these shapes, these random patterns or whatever that I'm drawing don't necessarily represent anything specific as much as they're an exercise. An exercise, meant for you to do as well, where you place value on your emotions no matter how abstract or how nonsensible or whatever. One of the things that I've learned recently is that to value other people's emotions, you have to value your own first. And in doing these kind of exercises and doing this exercise with these random shapes that don't really make sense, for me, they're random shapes. For you, they may be figurative, they may be something else. They might just be, brushes of color or whatever you used. But for me, it's no matter how it looks or how big or how small or how logical or illogical, it's valid because it represents an emotion. Saying that to say your emotions are always valid, no matter what anyone thinks or what society says or yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. We go through these things that shatter us, right? And they feel sharp, like a triangle or a jagged edged double, triple triangle, whatever this is that I'm trying. All right, and then it takes these stepping stones to get to a new place. And even in getting into that new place, that new space, it's unknown, it's undefined, it's curved somehow. And then you still have the robustness of life, right? You still have opportunities to be grateful for the color that life has added to your situation. The things that we can be joyful about on a daily basis. How those create a roadmap to growth, a roadmap to our personal definition of success. Do we trust ourselves enough to listen? Another story. But those are the kind of things that I think this kind of exercise uncovers. The process. It's not necessarily about the final outcome. It's about what you learn. And then also expressing those emotions and applying value to those emotions. Again, no matter how big or small, no matter how logical or seemingly illogical, it's all valid. And they all collage together to produce a new outcome, to produce something beautiful. Should you trust yourself enough to know that your opinions, your emotions, how you feel, they're all valid. Those experiences that shape them, that inform who you are, all come together and represent a sort of updated version of self. At least that's how I feel, And then expressing gratitude by being so grateful for all of these experiences and opportunities to learn and grow that I embrace them all gumboing together and sort of redefining my identity. hopefully this exercise does something like that for you. You know, the main lesson being that all of our experiences are opportunities to grow and learn, and how we feel about them are valid. All the ways that we feel about them, those experiences, those instances, those everythings, it's all valid. And they all come together to create a brand new you.
In a perfect world, we'd all select the product of the highest quality. But how can we possibly know? Can the packaging of a product provide insights on its quality?
What should I get? These look good.
Or maybe these. The perfect cereal equals the perfect morning. Wow. There's so many different kinds of cereal. Let's see. This one looks good. But oh, so does this one. Decisions. The truth is, the packaging does not determine the quality, but it can indicate that a brand has more resources to invest in packaging, ingredients, and talented craftspeople to produce the best product possible.
So for this exercise, I'm going to take a little bit of paint. I'm using copper paint in this instance. And I'm using an old potato chip bag. I think it's Fritos. And I'm just going to make a pattern. From right to left, I'm just going to make a pattern. And what you'll notice as, you know, I continue to paint here, is that there's a lot of paint on the right and it starts to fade out on the left. And the lesson here is that small things, small feelings, small emotions ultimately can become big things, big emotions, big feelings. And the bigger they are, the more likely they are to manifest as something different or in a different part of your life, probably in an inauspicious way.
Tomorrow I'll be feeling baby, I'll be making my way. I can't be tethered or locked down, cause all that I got now ain't nothing at the end of the day. And so I will stay for today, but tomorrow I'll be feeling baby, I'll be making my way. I can't be tethered or locked down, cause all that I got now ain't nothing at the end of the day. I'll be making my way.
What is the value of emotions? Is it how they feel? Or the ability to empathize with others after having felt them? When we value our own feelings enough to process them, enough to attach language to them, enough to express them in a healthy way without the need for justification, we then have the bandwidth to understand the feelings of others, and in doing so, establish and strengthen bonds. How might an artful revolution of how we process emotions enrich all of us and the lives of others? Something to ponder. Till next time, I'm John in the Middle, and this has been Understanding Art. Peace.